wrong dates, the wrong months.
Right.
Okay, the primary.
Miss, can I
Go ahead.
answer? Yeah, I actually did a lot of research on this myself, and I discovered the same thing. And
I
in
know
fact-
you, this is when it all started, when you talked to
Right,
Tammy.
right.
Absolutely.
And so
And
I
since
actually-
then, I've done a lot of research, and so has Rhonda Gamble. Go
Right.
ahead, I'm sorry.
So I actually have prepared an order for the board to adopt at the next meeting.
Okay.
And it's gonna give you the qualifying deadline, the date of the primaries.
Absolutely.
And the date of the general election.
Yeah.
So it will be on different dates, and just from my recollection, I think it was gonna be the first Tuesday in December.
It will be the 4th of October and the 25th of October, which is the first, and then 3 weeks later. That's
Right.
this year.
That's the
Okay.
primary.
The primary, absolutely.
Right.
Then, of course, the 7th of December will be the general election, yes.
Right, and then the qualifying deadline will be, I think, August the 5th, as I recall.
Yes,
Is that it right, Tammy?
I believe so, yes.
It starts what, on the 7th of June is the beginning of the qualifying,
It will,
which is 6 months from the
Yes.
general election.
yes, and it's gonna be approximately 60 days prior to the
Yeah.
qualifying deadline.
And what this, just for the record, what this is, going by, is the Mississippi Code 2315-171 from, that's from, I believe, 1972. And under number 2, if you look under that law, number 2 is the one that provides for special and private charters, which Waveland is a special charter.
Right.
And then according to, according to Ms. Courtney, the general election is strictly set by the charter, which was, back in late 1800s, but it was amended in, I believe, 1978. November the 29th of 1978 is when the charter was amended, that it would be held on the first Tuesday in December and every 4 years thereafter. So how it got changed, nobody knows, but it's been wrong, but we want to make sure it's amended now.
Absolutely.
So if we could get, as soon as possible, get a vote on that and get all this changed so it's all legal again. Okay, thank y'all.
Ms. McComb, could I get your email, because I want to send you the order? Go ahead. Yeah. 7.
Brenda, you're on here
Okay.
also, you're still. That's good.
I
Thank
got
you.
one question on this. How was it discovered that we were holding the elections at the wrong
I
time?
believe Mr. Jones had a conversation with a former Attorney General.
Yep.
And this subject came up. And that is how it all began. And he mentioned to Tammy, and then Tammy mentioned to myself, and then Rhonda and I discussed it, and I couldn't find anything on it, and she found this right here.
Right.
And then I spoke with Ms. Courtney at the Secretary of State's office.
Yeah, one thing that I do in addition to this job is I specialize in doing election contest law, so I spend a lot of time going to different places, having election contests, and so I research a lot of election questions. And when this came up, I knew there had to be something out there. You know, this statute that they have right here, hardly anybody ever looks at it, but I dug till I could find it. And then I realized that just at some point in the past, they had set the elections at a different date. It doesn't really matter, what it was before, because that's done. But going forward, we want to make sure we're on the right date, and it changes it a little bit.
So
And
we're moving from November to October,
The first Tuesday in October.
right?
And then 3 weeks later, it was November, the first Tuesday in November, then 2
Right.
weeks later.
Right.
And then your general was in December.
Exactly, the first
So-
Tuesday in December,
So now we're moving to October
Right.
with
2
the
months.
general going into November.
2 months, yeah.
General will be December.
Oh, just like it's always been.
Right.
Well, when I handed the calendar to Malcolm, he said, he had asked me, where did it come from? I said, we just inherited it. I mean,
Right.
in '03.
I have gone
Yeah.
back and researched as far back as I could, and I can find nothing.
Yeah,
I can find nothing in the archives of the Sun Herald, or
Right.
the Seacoast Echo, nothing that shows where it was ever held in October.
yeah, this is my 5th election
It's
with the
always
city.
been.
Right.
And it was just a fluke that it happened.
Right.
I mean, thank God it got
I'm glad
caught.
you
Thank
found it, yeah.
You're welcome.
Mr. Jones for finding it, because,
Yeah.
I mean, let's face it, somebody actually wanted to.
Yeah, they could
going
contest.
forward, they could contest an election and everything would be thrown out. I mean,
That's
you know that.
I do know that. So, and let me tell you, Charlie, what I think happened. I think that probably back in the, 50s, 60s, whenever, they started doing a cycle, and then probably they changed this law, and nobody really realized that it affected you know, Waveland because they were a special charter city, so they just did the same thing over and over. And that happens from time to time. There's nobody trying to do anything wrong, it's just that they tend to perpetuate what they did before.
Right.
So,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
Thank y'all. All right, next on the public comments is Odie Allen. Am I saying that right?
It looks like Odie and then maybe Ayler or Oler.
Is there Odie?
All right, we'll pass on that
All
one.
right. Mr. Brian Frater?
Good afternoon. On the current zoning ordinance, the accessory building is limited to 500 square feet. I looked at over a dozen requests for a variance in the last 15 months, and the average of them all was for a building in excess of 1,000 square feet. At the last zoning board, we passed a resolution to request you all to consider upping it to 900 square feet. For some reason, it didn't make the minutes and it hadn't made your agenda, so.
I can explain that, Mr. Bryan. I can explain that. There are some other things that the board wants to consider to make amendments. So rather than just do a hearing just for that one thing,
Okay.
we've got some other house cleaning things that we're trying to clean up. So it will come up in due course as a
Fine.
part of that.
Good,
All right,
thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Bryan. Next up, Mr. Brian Thurloff.
Good evening, gentlemen, and Ms. Fayard. Just real quickly, I wanted to cover a couple of things. On Blighted Property, Moriel on St. Joseph Street did a bang-up job.
Did.
They were in and out in one day and did a perfect cleanup job.
Yep.
So I just wanted to call attention to that, and I'm glad that that is over with. Is there anything, Mr. Jones, that you can enlighten us on the coast end?
On the
Just-
coast end,
just-
okay, yes.
Don't,
Josh can
don't
help.
play your hand, just.
No, I know, but I can give you a little information. So, we're in touch with the new owners. You're talking about the
hotel.
old hotel? Okay. Josh, you can come up to the podium just for a bit, and we'll tell what we know so far. Okay, you wanna relate, in contact with the new owners and what their plans are?
Yes, the most updated information that I have is that Claiborne Hill bought it, and they plan to demo it. We've already seen something, I think
So
that,
everybody knows what we're talking about. The property that's there on the corner, that was the old hotel, right on the corner of Highway 90 and, what's that, 603?
603.
Right, in the northwest quadrant, I guess it is. Somebody's bought it. The persons that have bought it apparently are connected to Claiborne Hills development. They want to demolish it. They're in the process of getting together a contractor to move forward to demolish it. There's a few things they have to do to get there, but it seems like that's gonna happen somewhat soon, so we're pleased about that.
Thank you, Josh.
Very good. The next item, just real quickly, is container homes.
I am behind on that. I thought I'd have it ready for this meeting, but I'm probably gonna bring it forward at the June 7th meeting.
Very good.
Been
Just-
working on redistricting and some other stuff that was more pressing.
Just wanted to let everybody know the lease terms they're nesting and laid some eggs, so they're establishing again a migratory bird just east of Bienville and just west of Bay St. Louis County line. Vic Johnson at Monday morning's Board of Supervisors meeting, he brought it up on his line item. He's already had been in discussion with Teresa Ryan, the District 1 supervisor, and she has that area in her district. And he's been in contact with Wildlife and Fisheries. And since then, there's been a lot more discussion with a resident that lives at, I believe it's 835 Russell Williams. And that's moving along. Audubon is having a meeting with Teresa Ryan and Vic tomorrow. And hopefully they'll be able to protect the immediate area where they've already established their nests. The economic development study, do we have any idea when that's gonna be presented? I missed the Blue Water discussion the other night, didn't see it posted, didn't know it was coming about. I don't wanna miss the economic development final presentation. Do we know anything?
I haven't heard anything on it since the mayor, at the last meeting, said that he was expecting it to be done in a couple of weeks, I believe.
Right.
That's the last I'd heard on it, Mr. Brown.
Hopefully we can get that out to the residents a lot quicker than
Yeah.
the Blue Water did. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody that didn't sign up, want an opportunity to come up and speak? All right, we'll move on. All right, under events, number 7 on the agenda, motion to approve a request from the Waveland Police Department to hold a community policing youth outreach program, Fishing with the Fuzz, July 30th at Buccaneer Park from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Any discussions on it? Anything you want to add to that?
Let's just add this finding that it's gonna bring favorable notice to the resources and opportunities of the city.
All right, we've added that to the motion. No discussion, we'll vote it. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
motion passed. Number 8 on the agenda, motion to approve a request from Ms. Kathleen Johnson to expand on a request to hold an art show in City Hall on June 10th. Ms. Johnson would like to allow artists to greet guests outside of City Hall. This event will be held during the Food Truck Friday. Can you get a motion?
I'll move.
I'll second.
Second.
Is Ms. Johnson here?
Ms. Johnson, are you here?
No, sir, she's not.
The,
Can we talk about this anymore?
yeah, y'all want to, have a discussion?
Yes.
The, you got something, Bobby?
Yeah, I just, as me and you were talking
Yeah.
about, how would the setup be? That's what, I guess, with Food Truck Friday going on.
Yeah, yeah, it sounds like it's, whenever it says greet outside City Hall, where are we talking greet
Right,
outside?
that's-
Are we talking on the streets, are we talking on the porches? You know,
Well, they're
what
gonna
do
be
we-
hanging in here. Art displays are gonna be hanging in here. But she also would like to,
Are you
when I
making,
spoke to her, set up canopies outside.
are you making a statement that they are gonna be hanging in this room?
No,
No,
on the
outside,
hallway.
in the
Outside.
foyer here,
Okay, all right,
outside this door,
okay,
in the hallway out there.
right.
That's my understanding. But she's asking for canopies to be set up too, that way others can come and set up their displays also outside.
Right.
Like-
Go ahead.
I guess, because last meeting we approved it, I think it was fine to have it all in here. Because Waveland has another event going on, it's going to, obviously, we see how much room a canopy takes up during
The
Halloween and Crawfish one. Like if it was this porch area right here,
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be sufficient, you know, not gonna impede traffic, safety, you know, everybody's gonna be parked. If it moves to the street, I think that's where the issue would come into play. 'Cause-
Yeah.
so,
If it
Yeah, I
moves to
think
the
that would
street,
probably be, yeah, I think that'd probably be a good
first thing would be
idea.
blocking the road off,
Right.
like we do for the Halloween thing, further down too.
Yep.
So we wanna limit the access to the area out in front of this, when I say out in front, I mean at this level.
yeah, because I want it,
Yeah, not street level.
yeah, like Public
No.
Works and Chris,
Well-
they leave the door unlocked for
Yeah.
the bathroom facility for everybody, but
Now, we'll let Ms. Fayard reach out to her in the morning.
Yes, sir.
So, okay, but the request is to hold outside. Do we want to vote that with it being outside, meaning the porch areas, or do we wanna hold off on it?
I think last motion from last meeting, where we said use City Hall, if you can, Ms. Fair, if you can convey to her, say, use City Hall being this area downstairs,
Yes.
not the, I don't know if the boardroom was part, no, probably not the
No,
boardroom.
sir.
I don't think so.
The lobby and the patio area, but
That's
I
it.
think that first motion that we made last meeting should cover everything.
Okay.
All right, so we've had them, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Alderman LaFontaine. Mr. Malcolm, would
Yeah.
they be responsible for their own taxes as well? That, I
Well,
know
so
that's
that's the
beneficial.
part that I'm confused about.
As am I.
Are they gonna sell items for this?
So
Well-
she should have, somebody, whoever's the organization,
Yeah.
because this happens for Food Truck Friday.
Right.
One person, and it's generally Jeremy,
Right.
goes and collects everything, so we're gonna have,
Somebody's
So-
going to be designated.
yeah, so somebody's gonna have to designate, and she's gonna have to pull out a small event form or whatever it's called with the
Right.
Department of Revenue.
And she's gonna have to put up a $500 bond too.
Yeah.
I mean, for the event,
Yeah.
because she's not a nonprofit, I guess. Why don't we do this, Tammy, I gotta come over here tomorrow at about 10 o'clock or 11, so let's call her when I'm here, and we'll go through all that with her, but, I guess, I don't remember what it said in the previous minutes. You don't think we need to do something now?
No, because I think it said City Hall.
It
So-
did,
okay,
yes,
all
sir,
right.
strictly to City
So,
Hall.
so we had a motion and a discussion, so, motion to approve, and we also had a discussion. Do we want to,
I guess you could withdraw the motion if that's what you, if you don't see any need to have a motion, then whoever made the motion can withdraw.
Jeremy, was that you that gave the motion?
You and
Or-
Alderman Piazza.
That was you?
Bobby and Charlie.
Yeah, Bobby and
Y'all
Charlie.
want to, withdraw the
Yeah, we
motion in a
withdraw and
second?
just make
Yeah,
a
let's
motion to
withdraw
approve.
it.
All right,
That way,
It just dies.
No
Malcolm and
action.
Tammy can get with her in the morning.
Right.
Yes, sir. And if I may, Mr. Piazza, I have the telephone number for Ms., or if you guys have it, for Ms. Kathleen.
so there was no action on 8. We'll
You don't
move
have
on
a phone
to,
number?
Email.
Okay.
we'll move on to Blighted Properties. Number 9 on the agenda is Sleep King Building.
I can take that one. And then at one point, Josh, if you'll come to the podium so we can cover this together. So, on the Sleep King building, which is out on Highway 90, everybody knows where it is. I've been in contact with Mr. Haydell and with, his attorney. Mr. Haydell has some other property that he is selling. He's supposed to close on that other property by the end of this month, being May. And then at that point, he'll have the funds to go ahead and to do the renovations and begin the renovations. I told him, though, that tonight I was going to recommend that we set a 2-week deadline for him to cut the grass in the front and to pressure wash the building and to also repair the top panel of the sign. He's got to go ahead and put something up there that's appropriate, and he said he wants to put building for sale or whatever, which is, I'm sure, fine. But he's got to repair it, and all of that needs to be done. At least he needs to get the grass cut and the pressure wash done within 2 weeks. He can commence on the signage, and I told him he need to contact you about a permit if you need one for the repair on the sign. You won't need I guess, a permit to pressure wash or cut grass, right?
No.
Okay. And then, after his closing, which occurs at the end of the month of May, he's to come in and get with you and create a schedule of what he's gonna do to repair the building, how he's gonna do it, who's gonna be the contractor, set all that up with you, and then get a permit. And then you'll set him up on I guess, an every 30-day review on the permit to get the work done.
Yeah, I mean, typically we give 30 days to
Right.
become compliant. I mean, I'm not trying to throw a wrench in the situation, but the
Right.
front of the building is falling off and it's been for years, so
Right,
to put temporary measures in place, like plywood or something, or
right.
even clean a building wouldn't take much time.
That's right. And so on the meeting on June the 7th, the idea is we'd come back to you and have a schedule of his, what he's planning to do to repair the building. So if I could get a motion to approve for him to have to cut the grass, pressure wash the front of the building, and make repairs, that commence repairs on the sign within 2 weeks of this date.
I'll get a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, this is my one thing. Repairing the sign, if he's gonna go put for sale by owner, don't we have some specification of what aluminum, like it can't be a banner, it can't be a piece of plywood. It has to be,
I think it's regulated in the sign
Yeah.
ordinance,
Can you just-
the size of it.
so if he.
I'll make sure he reads.
If he uses
Yeah.
it, it has to be a professionally done sign for,
We're talking about the pole sign in
Yeah.
the front to make it compliant to our zoning ordinance. You have to close in that cabinet.
yeah, so it's not
But-
just gonna be a banner or whatever else. It has to be a legitimate sign. Can you
Ham-
make sure that,
Yeah. Hannah, can you write this telephone number down? So it's 228-264-1999, and that's Mr. Haydell's number. Y'all can call him and give him the specifications of what the sign can be.
Any other discussion? Y'all want to vote that motion for the 2 weeks?
yes,
One?
yes.
Yes.
2, 4?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Okay,
Next on the agenda is 10,
that's gonna be.
1939 Sawyer Street.
Right. Mr. Trampus Ladner is deceased. Miss Hannah assisted, and we got an advertisement. We published it in the Seacoast Echo. It was published for tonight's meeting. As far as I know, Hannah, Josh, nobody has approached you or contacted you to say that they're representing the heirs or owners of the property, correct?
Correct.
All right. Is there anybody here on behalf of Trampus Ladner? Anybody here for Trampus Ladner? Okay, so we did find out that this property was sold at a tax sale and has not matured yet. The title has not matured yet, but we are gonna go ahead and notify the tax purchaser who is in Lauderdale, Mississippi, I think, and we'll do that. But I think that we are in a position where we can go ahead tonight and adjudicate this property as a public menace and then order its demolition. Correct?
Correct.
Okay, that's my recommendation.
Can we get a motion for that?
I'll
give
move.
I'll second.
All right, any discussion? Voted. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4?
Yes.
Motion passed. 11 is O. George Lane, Kenneth D. Kent's.
That's 0 George Lane, and yes, this one is the one that we talked about here today. Same situation, well, not the same situation, he's not deceased, but Mr. Kent's was, according to the affidavit, he was served notice. You have, y'all should all have a copy of this. He was served notice by mail, both at the property and at the address that shows up for his tax bill. It shows it was delivered to his address. We have delivery confirmation showing it was delivered on October 5th, 2021. Is that right?
The original notice?
The original notice. And then,
Didn't we discuss this one last year sometime?
We did. We did.
And then, Hannah, do you have the delivery confirmation of the most recent letter that went to this gentleman?
It's right here. Yeah, it's Exhibit C.
Is that the letter dated October 4, 2021?
Yeah.
Okay, so this one was the one that we actually tried to have a hearing on October 4th. No, excuse me, October 20th, 2021, and we didn't get notice. So did we issue a new letter to Mr. Kent's with a new hearing date for tonight? We did. All right, do we have that in this package here? That's exhibit number, let's see. Hannah, could you come up here just a minute, please?
You come with this one? March 31st, 2021.
Crack it open.
Exhibit G.
I have these were sent to the property that sent back, and then 2 that we sent to his apartment.
What's the one that we have for tonight? For the
That's it.
the
That's the hearing
for
notice.
tonight? Huh?
That's the hearing notice she has there in the envelope.
An envelope.
Okay,
Just gotta crack it open.
okay. You don't have a copy of it in the package there?
Never mind, we do have a copy here.
Okay.
It's just not in the affidavit. If we
Okay.
wanna
Yeah,
add it
let's
as
make sure
exhibit.
we put this in the affidavit next
Oh, yeah.
time. All right. So this one sets it for tonight's meeting. Unfortunately, it says May 18th, 2021, not May 18th, 2022. Do you see that? Yeah. So, because of that, I'm gonna have to say we're gonna have to redo this one. Okay, I hate to do that, but it's got the incorrect year. Unless you've
Where?
got something that shows it right here. May 18th, 2021.
Okay, is this only a 15-day notice though?
Yep,
So we can take this up at our next meeting, because we have 3 weeks.
we can.
All right.
So let's set this one, redo this one, Josh, for June the 7th, and then reissue the letters. And let's make sure we get the correct year on there. sorry I didn't catch that till just now, because this was not part of the affidavit package, Hannah, that you gave me earlier, okay?
I think I mixed it up with McKee's Gold Letter. It's all in the same file.
I understand, but these become important later for due process, and, you know, we have to make sure we do this right. Because we're gonna tear something down that belongs to somebody, I wanna make sure we do it exactly right, okay?
So we have
Alright.
no action on 11 for tonight.
Unfortunately, we'll have to table on that, but I'm assuming we had no response from Mr. Kintz
No.
on that one either? Okay. Well, let's go ahead and reserve him again, and then make sure the delivery confirmation and the new letter's in the affidavit package. Do a totally new affidavit
So
package.
can we just go motion to table this, change the motion from,
It doesn't have a motion. It was
Yeah.
just a discussion,
Right.
so we won't have any action.
There'll be no action on this one, we'll just take it up at the next meeting, Mr.
gotcha,
Is that enough time?
yeah.
If you count the days and we can make it by June the 7th, that'll be fine.
All right.
We may not make it, but if we can't do it June 7th, let's roll it to June the 21st,
I'll check it out.
but not
Okay.
longer than that. All right?
No problem.
Nothing else on planning, on blighted property. We'll move on to planning and zoning. Number 12 on the agenda is John Newman, representative of Zen Labs USA, appeared before the commission requesting a conditional use for the establishment of a medical, for a marijuana processing extracting facility to be located at 529 Highway 90, parcel number 138Q-0-34-041.000. This is the Hancock Whitney Bank property.
I move.
I'll second.
All right, could we have a motion to open the hearing, please?
We've got, Charlie, your motion?
Yeah.
Bobby,
I'll second.
to open the hearing.
All right. Now, this is a little unusual because we haven't done this before. This will be our first one, but the way we're going to do this, does anyone have an objection or a reason that they'd like to come in opposition to the application for the conditional use? And if so, raise your hand and then help me identify you, and then we'll take you in order. All right. Nobody wants to make any opposition to this application. I'm going to say it one more time. I have one person here in the back. Yes, ma'am.
Can I just ask a couple of questions?
You
And
can
would
if you
you
come to
in?
the podium.
Come on up.
And ma'am, I remember you from the planning commission hearing, but if you'll just say your name again
Yes,
when
sir.
you get to the podium, thank you.
Okay, my name is Ann Steinmetz. I live at 128 Favre Street in Waveland.
And for the record, I think I asked you this last time, it's Steinmetz.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. You can proceed.
Okay, I was rereading the presentation, the original presentation about this processing facility. And the way I read it, it looks like the intent is, it says, will include a commercial kitchen and extraction facility for cultivators around the state to bring raw materials to convert to Zen Labs' private label product line. So my question is, and what I'm interested in is, it sounds like it's more than medical marijuana that's going to be processed. So how much non-medical product is intended to be processed?
Okay, I got that
And-
question. Go ahead.
Okay, and is that non-medical product going to be the focal point of the profit for the company? So that they're gonna be relying upon non-medical marijuana products as their profit? And what do they consider then a good amount of product that, if that's so, what would be a good amount of product that needs to be produced in order to return enough money to make their investment worthwhile? I guess you can see my concern here is that what we're allowing in Waveland is really non-medical marijuana products being produced here for, and then the next question is, where will they all be distributed?
Okay.
Who will then become the customers? And if it is not profitable, what would be the intent then for the facility? Are they going to just abandon that facility? or not? And and then I guess also, how are they gonna distribute it? Because in looking at the website for Zen Labs, they seem to have a pretty large, mail distribution. And since it would be non-medical products, are they gonna rely upon people then to come in there to buy all these non-medical products, or is that also gonna be distributed through the mail? I just sort of see two different operations, one allowed by the new statute and one that may not be what was intended.
Okay, so
Okay.
it sounds like to me, and I might be wrong, but it sounds like that your first question pretty much is gonna get to the rest of them. If the
Yes,
answer
sir.
to the first question is there is no non-medical marijuana being produced and sold, then all the other questions collapse.
Right, if that's
Okay.
true.
Okay, so let's,
But then, except for the question of what would be the profit margin on the medical marijuana in order them to remain feasible and to keep that facility operating.
I will say this, I don't think it's appropriate to ask any business, even this business, what their profit margins are. I think that's a proprietary thing, and I think it's private, and I don't see a reason to ask that question. But I do think it's important to go ahead and answer the first question about whether they're gonna produce non-medical marijuana products, and is it gonna be part of their distribution? So,
Well, I would probably disagree with that to the extent that people can, and business people can make a generalized statement. Like most businesses, there's rule of thumbs of how much a restaurant has to have as a profit margin in order to keep on operating. And if Waveland's gonna have this facility, then, I would assume that we wanted to keep on operating and employing people and paying their utility bills and taxes and things like that.
Right.
So it's sort of a general, I know no one can make specific
Right.
answers about that.
so my thought is this, and I've studied that law pretty carefully. It's 455 pages, but there are only certain parts that pertain to what the cities will do. And one thing that I got clearly from the state legislature was that we pretty much have to treat these businesses the way we treat other businesses. And I'm not aware of any time, Mr. Meggett's here, and I see Brian there, I don't know that they ever ask those questions of any other businesses about their profit margins, projected or otherwise. And so I think it would be unfair and unreasonable to ask those questions of these applicants.
Unless the purpose of medical marijuana is being offset by something that was not the legitimate purpose of that company. That is the concern, because it's easy to switch and change what it is once a business gets established.
Let's hear from the
That's the
applicant.
concern.
Thank you.
Anybody else?
All right, Mr. Newman or whomever needs to come forward.
Gentlemen, Ms. Tammy, thank you for having me again. I think this is my fourth appearance in front of you, so I don't believe I have to bore you with other redundant
If you would
presentation.
just state your name, though.
Oh, I'm so sorry. My name is John Newman.
Thank you.
I'm the founder of Zen Labs. Yes, we are a CBD provider. And to answer the question is that there will be absolutely no non-medical marijuana products processed in this facility.
Okay, so based upon that, I think that collapses, as I put it, the rest of them, because everything else was all based upon that. So
Right.
that question, so if your answer to that is no, then I don't think it meets any of the other, there's a need to answer any other questions.
Right, thank you.
All right. Ms. Steinmetz, you heard Mr. Newman making the representation, so I think it answers the question. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. All right, if we don't have any other comments or points or questions, everybody's had the opportunity, I would ask that we have a motion to close the hearing.
Motion to close, second.
I'll second.
We'll vote it. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Hearing's closed. Motion passed.
Okay, at this point, as I understand it, and as I said, Mr. Meggitt, Brian's out there, this matter came before the Planning Commission. They had an advertised hearing. They had robust discussion, as I recall. I attended that hearing. The Planning Commission has made a recommendation to approve this application. So what's before you now is the recommendation of the Planning Commission to approve the application for conditional use, and with the findings that it meets all the criteria that's contained within the zoning ordinance for that specific conditional use. One of which is that this would be a use that was gonna be incidental to a retail use. And what I'm talking about there is that the retail use is gonna be the dispensary. This is actually only, this has nothing to do with the dispensary tonight, this is only to deal with the processing part. But because processing is directly related to a dispensary, which is a retail unit, then it fits the criteria, and it also does not, based upon the findings of the planning commission, there is no adverse impact upon the surrounding community. So with those findings, and which have already been made by the planning commission, you are in a position to either vote to approve the recommendation or to not approve it. And so do you have any questions?
I have just a few questions, I guess more. So the use, we're gonna get, if approved, it will give them the right to process medical cannabis.
Yes.
But for the building, I think in a previous meeting, it was talked about the site's gonna be kind of retrofitted because it's commercial property, we get it. It does abut back up to a residential neighborhood. I think there was indications, but I wanna make that sure there's guarantees made whenever the site's being prepared for whatever it's gonna be, if a license by the states is granted to them, that rear part of the property that faces Old Spanish Trail, that it has some sort of protection against, to make it truly, I think this is would be a more trafficked business. Or if I was in the neighborhood, I don't believe I would want clientele or whatever else being able to have access to Old Spanish Trail from the property.
Well, it's my understanding that the last time the gentleman was before the board, he was gonna put a privacy fence up for security reasons.
Yeah, but
Right.
how do we make sure, is there a way that we have
You can make a condition, you can include a condition, but I believe that was part of the application, that they were going to, and this is what I remember from the planning commission hearing and from the application, that they were going to restrict traffic to the back. In other words, the street to the back, which is, what's the name of that street?
Old Spanish Trail.
Old Spanish Trail. It was gonna be limited to only, it's gonna be controlled access and limited only for deliveries and for their employees, no customers. Is that correct, Mr. Newman?
That is correct.
All right, so if you wanna include that as a condition, we can.
Okay, and then,
Is that yes?
yes,
Okay.
and then the other, I guess the other, and this is just more of a question, cause I don't know if we ever did internally, obviously, to get a business license for most businesses, it's what, $25?
Yep.
What's gonna be and obviously we have to treat it like a normal business, but there's more work that needs to be done, business license wise, we have to provide, the city's gonna have to do more due diligence for any cannabis business, but even processors than they have to for a gas station or whatever else. Do we have a fee, and I guess this might not be time to address it, but do we have a fee, because I don't think the standard 25, the amount of work that had to be done, or it's gonna have to be done by our staff internally, is not gonna be covered by the cost of $25.
Right, so what's gonna come up is this, is there gonna be a business license, which we call a privilege license, okay? And as you said, it's based upon number of employees, inventory, and it has, a pretty nominal fee, all in all. But in addition, I'm working on a licensing ordinance that I'm waiting for pretty much some of the bigger cities. I've got Tupelos now, I've got Gulfports, I've got Biloxi's, and I'm trying to put together something that's gonna fit for Waveland. And of course, we don't have to have a licensing ordinance in place until the state starts its licensing process. And we've still got a few months, couple of months before that happens. But in the meantime, what we're requiring is that they apply for a privilege license. It's all conditioned, everything we're doing is all conditioned upon them getting a state license. We can't, on our own, we the city can't authorize this to go forward. They have to have a state license, okay? So there is another application they have to file that's an internal thing, but it's called a development plan review application. They have to do a change of occupancy application. Josh, did you go last Friday and do an inspection?
Yes.
Okay, so Josh did an inspection of the building last Friday, which is a typical change of occupancy inspection. There'll be further inspections we'll do from a building code standpoint once equipment is installed and make sure the building code has been met. So there's a whole lot left to go. Now, other cities are imposing fees that are in the tune of maybe $250. Some of them are a little bit more. So there are some other fees to be paid, and they'll have to go through that process once we finish the ordinance, put it in place, and make it effective, okay? And one thing I've been trying to find out from the state is, and of course, they're still out there, you know, putting out regulations and all this at the last minute. But we're trying to find out, is the process gonna be the state will issue their license first and then we issue our license, or who will go first type thing? So a lot of that's being worked out behind the scenes, kind of with a lot of cities and counties trying to figure out how they're gonna do this.
And
Okay?
then the other one thing, and I guess it could be, you obviously delved into the bill, but they had one clause in there. If they're, and maybe I know just enough to be dangerous. There's one part in there that says cannabis transportation, or like an actual business itself. You know, you have distribution, cultivation.
Yep.
If they do processing and then they sell to other dispensaries,
Yep.
will we have to come revisit that for that business?
The transportation license will be issued by the state, and the only way that I think we would license transportation is if someone set up we'll say a trucking firm
So
with a
just-
location here.
So him moving his products to other dispensaries, even if they're wholesalers, we're not gonna have to come across that bridge. It's not,
I don't think so.
okay.
But,
You addressed that at the last meeting.
yeah, I don't think that's gonna be the case. It's kinda like, you know, folks that come here to do kinda business, they don't necessarily have to get a privilege license here if they don't have a business location here. They're just selling their product, and I think transportation's gonna be similar to that, okay? I don't think we can license and make the truckers pay a fee just for bringing product back and forth,
Okay, so
all right?
Anything else?
that's all I had.
Okay,
Anybody else?
you are a little dangerous. All right. Okay, so with that, yeah, come. Yeah, did you wanna, is this related to this application or just in general?
Not to this application, but for what you said about, is the city going to give a permit first, or is the state going to give a permit?
Right.
I have to answer.
Why don't we do this, let's vote on this, and then I'd like you to come to the podium. Thank you. All right, so we have the recommendation of the planning commission before, did we vote on this yet?
No.
All right, so let's go ahead and vote that with the findings that the planning commission made, that we're also incorporating into our motion, and with the additional condition on restricted access to Old Spanish Trail, that it will be controlled access only for customers and for delivery, not for customers. Yeah, only
motion?
for, did I say that wrong?
I'll make a
Controlled
motion.
access only for
Oh, I think we already have it.
Yeah,
delivery
I already have the motion.
and
We already
for
made the motion.
employees,
You should have voted.
and not for customers, okay. All right, so that's the motion.
All right, we added some to the motion. Everybody still good with the motion
Yep.
in a second? All right, y'all ready to vote? 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
motion passed.
All right, now you can come forward.
Sir?
Rudy Lettier from Waveland Pharmacy. I had submitted an application today for a retail permit for a medical dispensary, and y'all wouldn't accept it.
Yes, and
And-
I can address that, sir.
Okay.
This is all brand new for the code office, and we're in the process of trying to make sure we're following the right procedures. The problem is we don't even know what the state's procedures are yet.
And
So
I
we're
have-
trying to, trying to accommodate y'all in the sense that we're trying to make sure we do this right. So I've told Josh today, this evening,
Yes.
to receive your application, we'll take it, and then we'll start processing it as best we can, okay?
Okay.
But there are some questions that we're gonna have to get, answered about your application. This will be the first one we'll deal with that is basically connected to a pharmacy,
Sure.
so,
Okay.
okay.
The Mississippi Bureau of, Alcohol and Beverage Control, they released their regulations yesterday.
Right.
And the city has to give a permit first, and then we have to follow with the application to the state,
Right,
to the Bureau of Alcohol and Beverage Control.
right. But you can't even make an application yet, as I understand it.
Into the city gives it
Yeah.
to us.
Well, no, you can't even do it if I gave you one today, because I don't think they've opened up the application
Oh.
time, have they?
No, but you have to, we have to get it from the city
Right.
before we can even apply for an application.
When's
And
the
this is-
opening,
this
when's
is
the opening date for the state to start
for,
taking applications for
For
dispensaries?
processors, it's gonna be June 3rd, and for dispensaries, it's July 3rd.
Okay, and you will be a dispensary?
Yes,
Okay,
yes.
so we have time, and if
Okay,
you'll,
I have the, right here, what? the
Yeah.
checklist.
okay, if you'll give that to Josh, and then we're trying to keep it all going through, his office.
What's required for us, even before we send an application in. That's right. And I've already contacted the surveyor.
That's my copy.
Yeah, and we have to have a survey of the project.
Right.
A lot of things,
Yeah, a lot of things, and we have some of our own things that you have to produce
then-
as well.
but.
But
we
just
have
give
to-
us a little bit of
we-
time.
we have to
This is
apply
all brand
July
new.
3rd, and it takes 30 days after we apply.
Right. Working as fast as we can, you know, this is all new for us, we're trying to do it right.
Okay, do you
Thank
want
you.
my application now?
You can give it to
or-
Mr. Hayes right there. And we'll get back with you about it, okay? There was no intent on his part to deny you making the application. There was no intent to deny you the application process, it's just he was unclear as to what to do. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Mr. Megan?
We may run into a problem where.
Can you come to the
Can you
podium?
come?
I know there's a couple people that are turning in applications, and they may be within 1,500 feet of each other. So who's gonna get priority
So
then?
this is,
That's-
this is my thought on that, just in general, because you're not the first to raise it. I think, because this is where I think, Malcolm, we could get in legal issue. We're gonna process every single one of them and turn them into the state, because if whoever, once it gets going to the state, if A goes up there and B, we don't accept B because it's within, and they have C that comes in, well, guess what? If A didn't get approved and B wasn't allowed to get approved, so C gets it in turn because of distance to each other, that would be on Waveland. So I think
That's a question that I'm still researching and hadn't been answered yet, okay?
Okay,
Because
'cause-
there are regulations that the state has adopted about how applications are gonna be collected. In other words, sort of logged in. And, we're trying to, like I said, follow their lead, but they're still trying to figure out what they're gonna do.
I guess on the other hand, and this is, granted, we just accepted an application,
Right.
why don't we have a drop start date of it? Because I don't want to say, hey, y'all were able to take X, Y, and Z's before mine because I didn't know about it.
I understand. You know, what I'm trying to do, though, is to avoid people saying we prevented them from filing an application at all. You know, the truth is that we don't really have the process set up exactly.
Yeah.
You know, if we wanted to be, I guess, really strict about this, we could say, look, we won't go ahead and process any applications until after the state does their job. But my review of the regulations is exactly what the gentleman in the back is talking about. There are certain things that are required to be done by us for them to be able to make the application to the state. So they kind of have put us in the first position, okay?
And also, are we gonna have a workshop to go over regulations and rules that?
A lot of these are not gonna have anything to do with the planning commission. So the rule that you just talked about administratively, how is that gonna be dealt with about applications, that won't be a planning commission matter.
Right, I
Yeah.
wouldn't think that was,
Right.
I'm
We're
thinking
working
more
on
about
that.
hours and days
Right.
of.
Right, that's gonna be part of the licensing ordinance, which really will not be under the purview of the planning commission either. However, it certainly will be given to the board, and we'll share it with you and everybody else that wants to see it before it's adopted.
Planning and zoning would
Right,
be happy to be involved to help
Yeah.
any way we can.
sure, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jim. All right,
Moving on.
nothing further. We'll move on to 13, the consent agenda, which is A through T, but we are going to remove,
See,
C's been removed.
Yes, please.
yep, and also That was it? Yeah.
Let's take off T as well, did you say? T is in Tom?
Yes, sir.
Unless you've got names, we don't have names yet, so we need to pull that
I
one.
don't, yes, sir.
Can we just go put on, let's just keep T on, can we just put, Mike Smith, one,
Okay.
and who else is definitely going? You think, Charlie, you think you're gonna go? Just so you can be number two, is Batman?
Go get that lunch. Yeah.
And put Charles Piaz as
Alright.
number two.
Yes, sir.
So we're gonna
As
leave.
the alternate?
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're gonna
Okay.
leave T on, and it's gonna be Mayor Smith and Alderman Piazza.
Okay, Mayor Smith is the primary, and then Alderman Piazza is the alternate.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
Okay.
Any other ones, anybody wants removed, or?
Well, Jeremy, let me ask this, are you going?
I don't know, I have to check, I have to see if I'm in town.
You don't know if you're gonna be in town, huh? All right.
It's like family vacations and stuff at my
Disney
house.
World.
Too hot.
All right, so it's A through T,
Canada.
removing C. Can I get a motion?
I'll move.
Second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? Not, we'll vote it. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
consent agenda pass.
Yes.
All right, so we're gonna move to 14. Ms. Fayard is getting us the total docket amount that should be on the end of it here. What I show is $559,745.73. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. 559, 745, 73.
Correct. All right, so we need a motion to approve the docket of claims paid and unpaid in the amount of $559,743.73.
I'll make the motion.
Dated May 18th.
I'll second.
All right, for the record, I want to just make it clear that there is a Raquel LaFontaine on there, and that is not my wife.
Anymore, like that really.
No, that one is, no, so I just want to make that clear.
Thought we got some breaking news.
Yeah, yeah. So anyway, all right, any discussion? If not, we'll vote it. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Motion passed.
I'm sure Raquel's happy to hear that joke.
Oh, yeah, yeah. All right, 15 on the agenda is motion to approve payment to the State of Florida Department of Transportation toll fees accrued by the fire chief and the assistant fire chief during their trip to the National Hurricane Conference in April.
Clerk moves.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
I did want to add, we didn't state where that was, and so I'm pretty sure it was in Florida, back there. Orlando, so just because not every state has tolls, but we know Florida does, so let's just include that to, I know it says State of Florida Department of Transportation, but I would like to say that's the National Hurricane Conference in Orlando, Florida in
No,
Yes,
April.
sir.
The conference itself,
Yeah.
where it was held. Okay.
Yep.
All right, so we'll vote it. 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Motion passed. 16 on the agenda,
I'm gonna
Attorney Malcolm has asked to
table.
have that table.
And let me explain to you why. So we're working on the legal part of the wards, and I need a little bit more time to accomplish that, to make sure that we got it correct. You know, the map's been adopted. I've already transmitted that to the circuit clerk. They're working on making the changes so that when the time comes and people want to qualify, they'll have a map to go by and a boundary map, a boundary designation as well, a legal description. So we should have that ready for the June 7th meeting. That's it.
All right, so
can I
we'll
have a motion
table
to
that.
table?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
Motion table. 17 on the agenda is attorney's comments.
The mayor had asked me to go ahead and request the board to go ahead and authorize to the advertisement of a request for qualifications for engineering services for the design of the marina. As you are aware, you know, the city was very successful, and the mayor and aldermen that went up, and all of y'all really, were very successful in obtaining monies for this project. And so, for us to be able to meet federal procurement guidelines it's necessary to do an RFQ for engineering, so I would ask it to move forward with that process.
I'll move.
I'll second.
Discussion? I have one. My question is, we received, was it $2 million, I think it was, on the marina?
2.5?
My question is, the marina, we're expecting it to be about $13 million, pretty much like a phase one type thing. Where is the city gonna come up with the remaining funds if we go break ground, or if we start doing procurements with only 2.5 million and we're looking at a $13 million project?
You actually are gonna have almost $3 million, and the first part of this is to go ahead and have the engineering group do a conceptual determination as to what it will cost to build the multiple phases that will be involved, and to talk about future funding sources that are possible.
And actually, I'd like to comment on that. I've contacted a few of our legislators about that particular question, and they are not guaranteeing me, but telling me that there is other funds out there that can be dug into for the purpose of the marina. And there's a lot of backing behind it, believe it or not.
And that's the state. Now, the federal is a whole nother story, and they're also, according to the mayor, and I'm making representations based on what he told me, that he believes the federal government too will also assist the city in funding sources for this project. But we have to have at least a concept that will be put forth by an engineering group that makes sense, and then we can go ahead and talk about the long-term funding, because I agree with Shane that it would not make sense to go out there and just spend money to put a book up on the shelf. You know, it's gotta be something that's viable and can be built.
So, we procured this federally because Go Mesa is involved, correct?
Correct.
I guess getting the professional service procured is important, but I guess once it gets procured, then we can give them directives to how you say conceptually.
Correct.
I think more importantly than conceptually is conceptually as a whole, but it has to be truly a phase of long-term. It has to be truly a feasible project. Being day dock might be the first phase. That's a jetty that's going out. That is a boat. Like that could possibly be phase one. Like truly big elephant, small bites.
Yeah, and that's the part that I'm talking about, is having the ability to figure out what can you accomplish with the monies that you have now, and then how can it be built upon, you know, going forward.
Yeah, like it can't.
Yeah.
In my personal thing, end of the day, it's not going to be a complete small craft harbor where phase two is adding an extra jetty at the end. Like that is
Right.
truly, I don't think, a realistic
Well,
goal.
get a good engineer and they can help you try to meet those,
Yeah,
Don't
understandings.
we already have a design?
I don't know if that.
You had a previous design from a previous time, but I think that that's not gonna be necessarily one that you can use, just pull it off the shelf and use today, according to what I've heard. So,
It was never fully designed.
no,
That was prior to 2010,
right.
so it's been
A
quite
lot
a
of-
while ago.
A lot of changes. Anyway, this is just to advertise an RFQ to get the process going. You have to do this. This is a requirement, you know, if you have any kind of federal funding at all. So, I recommend you move forward, because you have the Gulf Coast Restoration Funds. You also have the Tidelands Funds, and you have another one called, it's a big grant, BIG. I think it's Boating Infrastructure Grant. And I think there's another $200,000 from that. So I think that's where you came up with the 2.5, Charlie. I believe the Gulf Coast Restoration Fund grant was about $2 million, and then the Tidelands was $300,000, and then 200 from the big grant, BIG grant. So I believe that's right. But I'll get all those numbers and put them together for you, so you'll see.
So,
Those grants agreements are now being worked on.
so we're putting the state funds of the 2 million.
Yep.
We're putting, what are the other?
Tidelands and the BIG grant. Yep.
But and I guess my thought is you work off the internally wise, you work off the federal money first, because the state money can always be reallocated to a different waterfront project?
Yes and no. You know, when that application went up to the state legislature, they appropriated it for that marina. Now, if you move the location, maybe yes, but it pretty much is gonna have to be for that project. Otherwise, you'd have to ask for another appropriation. They could take it back.
For the $2 million?
Yeah.
I was told that it's that there is a clause in there that it could be used for other projects.
Okay, well then, it's something
That's
I'll
what
have to take a
That's
look
what I
at.
was told.
Yeah.
I think that's probably a true statement. I
True.
think it was one of the big picture things, that this is what they wanted for, but if something that comes not to fruition,
I'll
there's
get-
another big project they can move to.
I'll get some clarification on that. That's pretty much all of my comments at this point, but I guess we have to have a vote on that motion.
All right, 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4,
Yes,
motion
All right.
passed.
I did want to tell you this, under the blighted properties, Josh and I've talked about this. We have 2 of them that were going out for bid or solicitation of quotes for demo, and that's going to be the one on Avenue B. And what was the other one?
I don't recall right now.
Okay. I know.
I think it was
that-
just Avenue B.
I thought we had 2. Talk to Hannah, because she was taking the notes when we were meeting earlier. I thought there was 2, but maybe I'm wrong. That's gonna come up, we're moving ahead on those code enforcement matters. And I guess that's it. Anybody have any questions for me?
No, but if that's the end of the attorney's comments, before we move to 18, I see Mr. Lombardo in the back. I think that the board had wanted some questions, had some questions at the last meeting or something. They wanted to ask him some questions. Anybody?
Yeah, where you stand with the finishing up the first round?
Like I said, be about 3-4 weeks, we'll be done probably Sunday or Monday of the city cut. We're totally done everything in the annex. We're totally done, actually, everything north of the tracks.
Not totally. You left some streets behind, but I was gonna do what you.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
There's some streets.
Well, then if it is,
definitely.
it can't be too much, and I mean, it might be some odd out at the end stuff. South of the tracks, Tide, Surf, all that area.
Market Street, South Street, Sears Avenue,
Market to
That's
Sears,
actually-
South Street.
So that's going to be,
South of the tracks.
yeah, that's south of the tracks. So if we're standing here, that's over here this way, like going towards Buckingham,
Right,
correct?
yes.
Correct.
So in the first email that I had sent out, the direction that we were working is we're actually going to be ending towards
East-
that
East
area.
to west?
Yes, sir. Yeah, we're coming through the city like that. It may not be the same way we do it every time, but I wanted to try it like that the first time. I felt like maybe it just seemed natural. I don't know. But we're kind of pushing that way.
And there is other streets on north of Ocean Ranch Trail, Arnold, Ladner, Gladstone, Faith, those still.
Those had gotten addressed very early.
On the 10th.
Yeah, they did. They kind of got addressed like 2 weeks before we started, because the first crew that I have, when I told them to go cut, I think it's Ward 4 or something for Bay St. Louis, knowing that we took this contract, they just went from Nicholson and Old Spanish Trail and just started cutting that way towards Bay St. Louis, and kind of did that out of order, but it was mowed one
But
time.
then yet again, you had no direction on your first time around when you started cutting, correct?
This time, actually, Mr. Bowe and Mr. Chris have been
Right,
very
but
helpful.
when you first started cutting, you didn't have no direction on
Oh,
where to start or where to go. You
No,
didn't
no.
know, you didn't even know where the city limit lines were, did you?
No, sir, not the very, very first time, no, sir. But I will say this time, we're a pretty good team. We've been communicating pretty well. I felt like it's been going pretty smooth. Other than that one little area where you're talking about, like behind Southland Plumbing and all that, we pretty much started the right-of-ways on the 25th, and I'm expecting to be done, by Saturday or Sunday. And of course, next time it should be a little bit faster.
Once you make your first full cut, you think there'll be any change in the schedule that you submitted as far as like starting here and, working your way around? Or,
I didn't
mean,
really come across anything that I would feel why I would have to change that. I mean, like anything, a special event, maybe back of town's having something, hey, we need this cut before. Other than that, I think I'm gonna approach it the same way next time and just kinda see how it goes.
Okay.
Now,
At what point will we get to the main drains?
I'm glad you brought that up. So kind of coming into it when the grass was already tall, I just took it upon myself to address the stuff that's literally in front of people's homes. As soon as we're done this round, I'm gonna start the main drains.
Yeah, 'cause that's gonna be an undertaking there.
I understand that.
Definitely be a
I'm
big
trying to get,
undertaking.
when they pull into their home, I'm trying to make sure that was nice before the main drains.
And I've noticed, I went in the annex area, I mean, really good job, but I noticed there's been some ditches that are not done in front of people's houses, not very many, I mean, there's some that need to be looked at and going through there and
Okay.
hit.
And I would just maybe say, I know one of the streets off of Avenue B, there was a white Ford truck parked there for the longest, and then now it's gone and there's like a 20-foot strip of grass there. If you're going down Avenue B, it's on the left. Yeah.
You got Favre Street on your list off 603, First Street off of 603?
Backside has been cut.
The-
It's been cut. I was just back there, we just cleared out some stuff. We had a drain back there, we had a beaver there, we were back there.
Off of 603?
Yes, sir.
So I just looked down it today, the first part of it's not cut.
That was cut a long time ago, it's been cut. But yeah,
Okay, it must have grew back.
Yes, some
Well,
things,
how
I don't
far,
mean to
how
cut you
far are you into your contract? Actually, after the 30 days, the 30 days would have made what, to mobilize would have been May 5th. So today's the 18th, so
Yeah.
13 days into your actual cutting portion of the contract. So you actually started before your 30-day mobilization.
Technically, yes, sir. And I know I spit out the 3-4 week thing a few times, and it is possible. 100% is possible, and it's only going to get better from here. If I just have the cooperation, the acceptance, I'm here to help the city. I'm not trying to hurt anybody.
Well, I agree with what Bobby said. I've gotten a lot of compliments on the ditches being weed-eated. and
It's a
stuff,
better
so,
overall
I mean, it's-
product.
Look,
Shane,
yes, ma'am.
I have a question. They did Pine Ridge today, and it's like hit and miss, hit and miss. There's stretches where nothing was touched, ditches are still, not cut.
Well, you-
It's like a half-done job.
Like, you started in that, you was working in that
We're,
area today.
we're actually in there today, yes, ma'am. There's some things that we're gonna go finish up in there in the morning, and then we're kind of working a little in reverse. We're pushing towards Coleman Avenue from Piney Ridge or Pine Ridge. We're pushing this way from it.
Like I said, I drove down it, and
Yes, ma'am.
it looks scalped,
There's some spots where I told the guys, look, I need y'all to catch everything here. Excuse me, I'm sorry. I could come with another machine and catch this. You don't need to kill yourselves on this. I've had those guys kind of catching.
So it's unfinished.
Yes, that particular street. And I think, what's Marcus or the next street over? Coming this way?
Marcus.
Whatever. Yeah, a
Marcus.
few of those streets, there's gonna be a few hit and misses, but I personally directed them today to work like that.
So, anybody got anything else?
Yeah, I got one more thing. Excuse me, Mr. Harris.
Yes, sir.
Are we having our Juneteenth celebration in Middletown this year?
Yes, sir. 18th of June.
18th of June? Okay. We'd like for you to keep that in your mind. That way we can get Middletown cleaned up real good and
No problem.
have that grass cut, make it look good.
All I ask again, like I said in the email, if you email me, it will be done. An email will not go unignored. Verbally, I would love to remember everything you guys tell me, but it's just a lot. If you send me an email, it will be done.
We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
All right, anybody got anything else? Anything for executive session that you
No,
know
sir.
of?
No, sir.
I don't know of anything. All right, hearing nothing else, can we get a motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
All right, vote at 1,
Yes.
2,
Yes.
4.
Yes.
All right, meeting's adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Man, I thought you, I'm adopting girls that say, hey, I'm in Tennessee with such and such. I never divorced somebody, that's not my wife. Man. I was like, first of all, I'm working.
thought there was a